Been quite honestly dreading this a little bit. If I bounce around during this time frame, I hope you'll forgive me. I come to you right now with a really heavy heart. Unfortunately, I've been through this 6 times, and that's 6 times too many. The team's hurting, everyone's hurting. It's Daniel Fitzwater, one of our players, obviously one of our teammates, passed away on Saturday, and he was a great young man and a great teammate. For those that have faith out there, they have a faith. Daniel had a very strong one, and that can be comforting for me and for others. I'm going to go ahead and kind of give you some things that I know, rather than have you guys ask the questions along these lines. Daniel went over Friday night. Obviously, he was injured here a few weeks ago and had surgery. He went over Friday night to watch his little brother play high school football in Lincoln Parish, was with his family, which was obviously a great blessing. His roommate, Jimmy Chung, unfortunately lost his grandfather and was home in Dallas at his grandfather's funeral, and so Daniel decided to stay with his sister, who's a student at Louisiana Tech, and so he was going to sleep on the couch that night, and I guess the sister went on to bed. Daniel was watching football on television, that type of thing. When she awoke the next morning, she went in to try to waken him, and he was non-responsive. I've talked with the people over in Lincoln Parish that were a part of, finding this out, and they do not believe that there was any foul play or that this was self-inflicted, that this was more natural causes, and obviously we'll find out from that autopsy later on this week. We got the call about noon on Saturday, and the tried to alert the people, such as the administration, know kind of what was going on. Wanted to have an opportunity to, we had a 2:45 pregame meal, and wanted to be able to tell the team at that point in time before it got out. It was heartbreaking for them at that moment, and still is now. It's in my coaching career, it was the hardest time that I've ever had, having to send those guys out to play a game when they were weeping in the pregame talk, and so ultimately I couldn't be more proud of them. I couldn't be more proud of them. And I appreciate, I asked you guys to honor the request, and I very much appreciate the fact that obviously we didn't have any time to do any kind of grieving, and I appreciate the fact that you let my guys have an opportunity to kind of reflect and grieve on their own after the ball game. I continue to appreciate that. Tomorrow is the service. We will be taking the team tomorrow morning. It's at 11 o'clock at Calvary Baptist Church in Shreveport. And I think that will help provide some closure for these guys. Obviously, a lot of these young men have not lost anybody at the age that they're at. They haven't lost anybody that was really close to them. And so there's some ones that are dealing with this in a very difficult way. We set up counselors and pastors to help them through some of this. I'm not going to say that we're well yet, because I don't believe that we are. As I told the team the other day, unfortunately, having again gone through this process before too many times, everybody's going to grieve differently, and obviously some are going to get back faster than others. That doesn't mean that they don't care. That just means that they've found a way to put some closure in their heart, and there's other ones that are going to struggle with it more. I think certainly those ones that, you had close friends on both sides of the football and even within the kicking game. But probably the ones that were touched the most, obviously, were those ones that were with him every day, and that would be myself and Coach Wells and the quarterbacks. And so I think, overall, we're trying to heal and do what we can do and move on. And, Psalms 46:10 says, "Be still and know that I'm God." And you got to trust that and ask the players to do the same. And I know that Daniel, again, was very faithful in his beliefs, and I know in my heart of hearts he was in a better place, and I really appreciate all the people that were out there that have expressed their thoughts to the team as a whole. I really appreciate those people that stayed until the end of the ball game too, because it was, again, very, very difficult for those young men to go out and focus and concentrate and play great football, and for those people that were there at the end of the game, and I really appreciate that. And and I'm quite honestly, every week, I get letters and emails, and that's just part of the nature of our business. And quite honestly, I'm really sorry for some of the people that have just this callous attitude that kind of permeates our society right now. I'm sorry for them that they're at that point in their lives. So, again, moving forward, we'll take the team tomorrow to the service. We'll come back and obviously prepare for a Tulsa team that is playing very well right now. And Coach Montgomery has done a really, really nice job. There's, this team's not that far removed from being a top 25 team. They've got some athletes, both sides of the football, that are operating from that Baylor system, which puts some stress on you in relation to splits, and they have a couple exceptional receivers, I think, that are giving everybody problems. And so we go from a defensive perspective, we're go from a triple option attack to an attack that's really going to push the ball down the field. And then offensively, kind of have some of those same things kind of going on, to where this is a team now that is much different than any other team that we've played, in that they're a four down front, but they're a quarters-based team that's going to zone pressure. We haven't seen that this year. And so, again, every year that transition, or every week that transition becomes difficult, and we need to adjust and again, focus and concentrate this week on preparing for a different type of team. And as many of y'all have already asked me, and this will be a semi-homecoming for me, in the sense that I graduated from the University of Tulsa, and my oldest daughter graduated from there and got her master's from there, and so we've never been too far removed from the university as a whole. This is not my first time to go back as a coach and play them, but there's a few spots on that field that I have some memories of, and so it will be obviously unique for me to kind of go back there and play again, and it will be kind of a family reunion. Most of my family has never been close. We've never been close enough. My family hasn't, quite honestly, for them to appear in an awful lot of games. And so my family, my wife's family, my extended family, I think my whole high school football team is coming, along with many, obviously, that I played college football with. And so there's going to be quite a few people in the stands, and they better all be cheering for ULM. So, questions?
Coach, obviously there's no textbook with how to, go mentally, I think, from that kind of an event to game preparation. But how beneficial do you think just having your guys get back to work, going back into the daily routine, how beneficial do you think that could be for the healing process?
Well, I think it's very important that we do that, and that's why we did practice on Sunday. And I talked with the team about it, and obviously, again, 6 times, and every counselor that I've talked with from the first time that it happened 32 years ago to this time, that it's important for them and for us to get back into a normal routine. And so we've tried to do that. And I think as coaches and as players, again, I asked our players to be understanding of each other in relation to that. And as coaches, we need to be understanding, too, that there's going to be some individuals that are going to have a tougher time focusing, and we just got to put our arms around them and love them up, knowing that they really do care, and that, and just kind of keep moving forward. That's the only thing that obviously that we can do, and so that's what we need to do, and we'll continue to. This is not going to be an easy week. It hasn't been so far, and it's not going to be an easy week. The ones that I've gone through before, these have been very, very difficult weeks, and so we just got to push on and keep taking another step forward.
Do you guys feel that succeeding and staying focused, that could be the best way to honor Daniel?
Well, the best way for us to honor Daniel is to try to appreciate the person that he was and try to live in the way that he did too, and that's our best way to honor him. And I got someone that, again, you get some callous responses sometimes, and someone said, the team should have played better because, you do one for the Gipper. Well, the Gipper didn't pass away 3 hours before, and if anybody recognizes a football team, especially at this level, in high school there's the things that you give up personally and all that kind of thing, but here you live with the guys, and there is a brotherhood that's developed over a period of time, and you just don't kind of wash that away. I mean, I would not, bad choice of words here, okay, but for lack of better words, I would challenge anybody that has somebody that they're very, very close to, a family member, pass away, and then try to do something really significant that everybody's watching 3 hours later, and then have people judge you on how you played. I don't think very many, even mature people, I'm talking about grown men, grown women, would be able to handle that. And that's kind of where their team was at. And so that's why, again, ultimately I'm very, very proud of them. I think for us, that routine, that getting back on the field, that opportunity to play again and get back to normalcy is what's significant here. And I'm sorry I got on a little bit of a soapbox there.
I think what happened Saturday puts life in perspective in the scheme of things.
Sure.
Wins and losses don't mean that much, but you guys got down early. You ultimately didn't win the football game, but they rallied back. And just talk about the character of your football team with everything going on with that.
Yeah, well, families are always more important than winning, always. And I thought the group did rally back, and we had to insert some other players in the game for different reasons. Some of them relating to the situation, and some of them not, and that were just younger players. And unfortunately, some of that late rally kind of got killed by just lack of experience in some situations. And again, it was very difficult to focus and concentrate. I found it, even at my age and some of my experiences, it was difficult sometimes for me to get all the focus that I'd like to have in terms of calling plays. I didn't do a great job of that on Saturday. I wasn't necessarily seeing things, and it's you have these not deja vu moments, because I don't necessarily believe in that, but you have these reminders that all of a sudden can jog your memory a little bit, and we're all kind of continuing to go through that. I mentioned earlier about going back to the University of Tulsa, and there's some things that are going to resonate with me back there in relation to some moments on that field. We still have some of these moments on our fields here too, and certain things that happen that all of a sudden kind of, that you can lose focus. I'm really, really proud of Garrett Smith. Garrett and Daniel were close, and for a young man at that age, to kind of go out there and do what he had to do. And again, it's the hardest thing I had to do to send him out on the field. Hardest. There's other things in my life that have been obviously difficult, but from a football perspective, never had anything more difficult than having to send that team out on that field.
Is there an update on Trey Perry and Justin Bacchus?
Yeah, Trey was obviously a walk-on player, and he had some personal difficulties in relation to maintaining that status. And obviously, we can't just all of a sudden manufacture scholarships. There's an NCAA ruling along those lines in relation to how many scholarships that we can have. So Trey has thusly had to leave the team because of it. Justin Bacchus's situation is different in the sense that Justin, I dismissed him from the team on Sunday. We have some high expectations for our players. They do of each other. And Justin behaviorally had crossed that line too many times, and it happened Saturday again. And even though he'd been warned that that there were going to be natural consequences that happened, and this had been an ongoing problem, and so we did have some credible talks during that time period where everybody understood exactly what was the expectation, and there comes a point in time to whenever there needs to be some conformity to that, and so he's been dismissed from the team.
Moving on to this week, Todd, this is like the second straight week you're facing an explosive offense in Tulsa. Do you see any striking similarities between the Tulsa offense and what Georgia Southern brought to the table last Saturday?
No, it's much different, different style. Certainly Georgia Southern was an option-based team that was going to challenge you with your discipline. And again, it's not discipline's a part of the game, but as we kind of mentioned the week before, Alabama was going to challenge you more with the athletes necessarily than the discipline, quite honestly, because of just the nature of option offenses require that you have discipline all the way across the field and that everybody's hitting their gaps. This one is going to stress us in relation to space and making plays in space. And while there's obviously discipline that's required in it, what that style of offense does is it puts you in space, and they have some athletes that can really challenge you and in space. And they're going to put you in space and see if you can make a play.
Going back to the football aspect of things, especially during that game, it seems, we've talked about this, I think, since week one, but the penalties and the special teams continue to be an issue.
Right.
How do you go about, getting that fixed, and what can you do to address that issue?
Well, obviously we have done a good job in the past of it, and so it's not like this is something that we don't know or don't have high expectations on, because, again, we've been ranked in the top 10 in the past almost every year in the fewest number of penalties. Now, quite honestly, I think we've continued to address it. We had a bad snap, but I'm not going to fault Todd Phillips, because Todd Phillips and Daniel Fitzwater, I mean, I'm sending the young man out on the field crying. They were really close. I'm not going to fault him for that bad snap in that situation. In relation to, the penalties, we're going to continue to address it. But again, I think it was really hard for anybody to focus or concentrate during that game. And we know that we need to play better. We know that we need to play more discipline. We know that we got to play with more focus. But I can't really expect them to have great discipline and focus in the events that we just transpired. Moving forward, obviously, it does have to get corrected, and it has been addressed with the team. They recognize how that's hurt us through the course of the year. We do have, for the most part, especially on defense, a very senior-laden defense. We're not, and so consequently, the discipline on that side should be, at a higher level, and just because of the expectation of some maturity, that type of thing. I still don't know that we've got a great understanding of kind of what our identity is, because of just either who we've played or the situation that we got. I thought I'd have a lot clearer picture and some clarity this last week, playing the conference opponent, but again, most Georgia Southern's got a good football team. Not trying to take anything away from them, but I think obviously we could have played better and played more focused. But again, with the situation, I have very little expectation that I can hold the kids accountable to that, because that's not fair.
Obviously, the players are going to have to determine that identity based upon, their actions on the field. But, what would you like this team's identity to be, if it were up to you?
Well, I thought the Nichols game was what we wanted to do on offense, what we wanted to do on defense. Now, we've had, 5 of the top 8 receivers are out now too, from before that game, and so consequently, your identity has to kind of continue to keep changing, and so I thought that's kind of what we wanted to be, and the style of play. Now, so kind of moving forward, some of those things have to change a little bit, because it's in order for us to make sure that the best players are on the field and all, and so we're still kind of moving through that process. Again, we'll have a little better idea this week and a little bit better idea the following week in terms of kind of where we need to go from here based off of our current players that we're playing with.
Some of those current players, you look at your young receivers you had to count on the other night. Marius Gillespie caught a touchdown pass, so did Jared Maps. So
Xavier Brown, true freshman, had been on scout team the week before. Hadn't been even practicing with us. So he'd been on scout team. All of a sudden, he's playing.
You've got those guys, and you've also got Brian Williams as well. What's kind of keeping him from being up with those other guys?
Well, Brian just needs to continue, I think, to practice well, which he's trying hard to do that, and to be consistent. That's the challenge for every player, is to come out and be consistent, and that is for coaches, that's probably the most important thing. You hear a lot of older coaches kind of talk about that ability to be able to make one play is overridden by that ability to be doing the right thing all the time, and a lot of players can kind of get caught in that trap a little bit too, and even fan bases can, in relation to expectations, and they see somebody make a dynamic play. And so he just needs to kind of continue to grow. I know that he has some frustrations in trying to step out on that field and be that kind of guy, but it's obviously got to be demonstrated in practice on a consistent basis, and he's working towards that.
Your team overall escaped the Georgia Southern game relatively healthy. I think the only guy that I remember leaving was Chase Region, but he was back in a play or two later.
Right.
Was that pretty much the case, injury-wise?
It is. We have our bumps and bruises as it would be expected, but obviously the number of individuals that we still have missing is considerable, but we're not expecting any of them back this week, nor did we lose anybody in the ball game this past week.